Hello friends, in this video I want to share with you a few tips that you can use to come up with a business idea and eventually establish your own business, which can maybe later translate into a company. If you watch this video till the end but you don't learn anything, don't learn a single thing, I honestly owe you an apology. Let me know down in the comment section and I'll personally apologize. Take a quick second, smash the subscribe button, turn on notifications so that you're always notified first every time I upload a video. If you're new to the channel, my name is Joseph Nsamba and I'm a medical student at Makerere University. On this channel we talk about business, tech and medicine. Any of those sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing to the channel, turn on notifications such that you're always notified first every time I upload a video. The first tip we can use is called the 10x rule. The 10x rule is simply the idea that you can make a new product. You can make a new product by simply making it 10 times faster, 10 times easier, and 10 times more fun, making the overall user experience more exciting. So you look at the already existing products and you've tried to brainstorm the different ways that you can fix the weaknesses in those products and eventually come up with a better product that is 10 times better than the existing one. You realize that the statement that there's nothing new beyond the sun it seems to be true, because if you look at most of the innovations, at least the idea is being gotten from something that's already been made. Let's take an example. We have seen ChatGPT being built of recent. ChatGPT is more or less like a search engine, but you see that it gives a better experience as compared to the traditional search engines, maybe Google, Bing, name it all. So this new idea, ChatGPT, because it is more interactive with the user, becomes more fun. So literally you're improving the previous one for a better product. Another example, there's an app called Superhuman. Superhuman is an application for faster mailing services. Yes, we already have traditional mailing services, but Superhuman makes mailing faster, and the fact that it is making mailing faster adds a better user experience. So a better way to generate an idea is simply looking at existing products and find out ways in which you can improve them to bring out a better user experience. Tip number 2, solve your personal problems. According to Forbes, most of the successful startups have been established by solving a founder's personal problems. Why this is the best technique is that the founders usually have the drive, tenacity, and dedication to find the ideal solutions to these problems. So if you have a personal problem, you try to brainstorm the best ways and the ideal solutions that you can think can solve that particular problem. If you, for example, you have a problem, maybe let's say you're in medical school and maybe you have challenges with maybe organizing your notes, uh, uh, or managing your time, and then that particular problem, you try to think of an application that can solve how someone manages his time in medical school. If you come up with a good application, this can blow up and eventually become successful just because you try to solve your problem. Let me assume that you don't have problems in your life, which I don't think is possible. If you have no problems in your life, try to give yourself new challenges. Try to give yourself new experiences. Maybe you go out, to maybe work for a new company, travel to a different location. You might be, let's say you live in the US. You might live in the US and you think that it's impossible for people to maybe find people maybe somewhere who cannot access water. And maybe when you travel to Africa, realize that in Africa that's one of the biggest problems. So when you come to a new area and then you find out that there are other problems, you begin brainstorming and finding ideal solutions. Have no problems in your life, try exploring and moving to different environments. Try finding new challenges, because the more challenges you get exposed to, and the more your brain is going to be triggered to brainstorm and find out better ideas. Ideally, ideally, what you need to come up with something is basically two things: curiosity and challenge. Once you have those two in place, I can assure you, you're going to come up with something. So literally, all you need is to put yourself in a position of challenge and come up with something. So, tip number three: fix a problem in a broken industry. Realize that very many industries are outdated and are struggling to catch up with modern trends in business, especially to catch up with technologies. And such industries offer the best opportunity to come up with an idea. For example, actually, this is very common in industries like insurance and some lending protocols, lending companies. So here, what you do is simply I to realize the weak spots in those particular sectors, and you find how those weaknesses can be ideally solved. So if you look at maybe at insurance, you realize that with insurance, sometimes sometimes you see that customers take long to sign up. They have to deal with agents, do a lot of traditional paperwork. But you can simply come up with an idea. What if people just signed up for insurance very fast without having to do a lot of paperwork and moving to insurance agency? So when you find that that's a problem, you eventually come up with, maybe you can even just think about maybe designing an application. You use machine learning to come up with an application that can eventually people can eventually use to sign up very fast and get insurance quotes in just minutes. Ideally, most of the startups usually come from, I think, this thing, because you realize there's something existing that is broken and people try to fix it. If you look at the idea of the budget boxers, which are very common in Africa, I don't know whether they're very common in other countries, but here in Africa they're very common. Ideally, they were original motorcycles, but you see that they were very small and the capacity was reduced. Someone come up with budget boxers which can carry more people. They are more they can carry more people, they consume less energy, and they are more durable. So something like that, there's something already existing, then you try to fix the transition from Nokia phones to smartphones. Literally they were phones already, but the idea of creating a smartphone experience made these all these founders come up with a new what idea. So it's literally you trying to fix um, something that is broken in a particular industry. Tip number four: make use of idle assets. We realize that many of us, we have a lot of idle assets around us. There are a lot of idle assets around us. Idle assets, idle skills. Some of you have skills within you, but you have never realized them. You might be an entrepreneur, but you actually don't know that you're an entrepreneur. You might be a musician. You might be a very good hockey player or basketball player, but you don't know how to use these skills. So that it's very important that you make use of your idle skills. Your idle skills or commodities can become a business. Best example, there's an application called Airbnb. Airbnb is an application that you can use to order for a room or rental when you're going for a vacation. But literally, it's simply that someone has a free room in their house which they cannot use. You can describe this on the application and someone can always order for it. Many people build houses and they have very many extra rooms which they really don't put use. So with Airbnb, you can always give a description of how the room is and how much you can offer per hour. People can always use it. So in that way, this idle asset, which is the free room that you have, the extra free room that you have in your room, in your house, you're putting it to use and can generate you some extra money. So literally coming up with an idea shouldn't be so complicated. It's just about thinking outside the box and looking at the few resources that we have, and then we put them to use. You can have an extra piece of land on your home around. Maybe you have a very big compound With a big compound, you can do home farming, and home farming can still generate you some more money. You don't have to make life so complicated. You just have to think in your surrounding. Look at those idle things. I don't know the idle things that you have. You can look around yourself and see how best you can put them to use. Tip number 5: employ strategic foresight. Employing strategic foresight simply means you try to make calculated and educated guesses about the future. You look at the current market trends, analyze the market, you analyze the consumer demands that are currently existing right now, and you try to make calculated guesses about the future. For example, right now we are seeing a very big trend in the metaverse, virtual reality worlds. We are trying to see a very big trend in AI technology, blockchain technology, name it all. So you can try to think that maybe in 10 years' time, this might be the next big thing. So if it's the next big thing in 10 years, it means right now I have to figure out the best maybe investment opportunities and maybe um, the best innovations in that particular line that I can come up with, maybe to solve problems which can be which can become the next big thing maybe in the next 10 years. The founder of Idiegongo, that lady, Jenny Idiegongo, she made a guess that the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission in the US, would reverse its ruling about how people invested online. Because the SEC back then made majority of its laws that people should be banned from investing online. But the laws were being made just because of the traditional ways of investing. But Idiegongo predicted that that would be reversed. And surprising, a few years later, she turned out to be right. And eventually, um, people started investing online. Very many stocks, all those things, very many ways of investing online. I think when they launched her company, I think it was around 2007. The Idiegongo became one of the biggest crowdfunding companies in the world. But it was because she made calculated guesses about online investments and basing on what the SEC had decided. So I think this brings out the concept of be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are what? Fearful. So it's just very important that we keep curious, we keep informed, do a lot of reading, do a lot of research, try to establish the current, the previous, and the future market demands. Because once you know all those, if once you have all those in place, you can eventually come up with what? An idea. And the best people who advance are the people who keep themselves in the market with the current, the ongoing, and the future trends. Tip number 6: look for founder market fit. We as individuals always have our personal unique skills and expertise and relations. So when you make use of your personal skills and expertise, you are carrying out something called founder market fit. Your circles, if you have co-founders, let's say your circles, your friends, they all have unique skills. If I'm an entrepreneur, you might find maybe my friends are good at communication, my other friend might be good at marketing, my other friend might be good at sales. So when we make use of all our combined unique skills, we can eventually come up with something very great. It's very good that we make use of our unique expertise, because when you make use of your unique expertise, you have the ability, you bring out your whole best potential. If maybe my skills are in farming and I give in my best, it's very likely that I'll come up with something what? Very great. If you look at Paul Allen and Bill Gates, these two studied computer programming and computer science, and both of them, they use their expertise with computing to come up with something very what? Great. Microsoft. You see how the company is doing 20 years later. You may not come up with something big, but in our small positions, maybe you come up with your own business because you have that particular unique skills. Maybe you are in medical school, you realize that for you personally, you are maybe very interested in maybe in drugs. Come up with a pharmacy because that's where your unique skill is, you know? So it's very important we make use of our unique personal skills and eventually come up with successful startups. Tip number 7 is you crowdsource an idea. If you don't have problems, probably people around you have, your circle, your relatives, and friends have. So talking to these people can always help you um, find out the various problems. Realize sometimes if you don't talk to very many people, you might think that your problems are everyone's problems, but no, everyone has their own unique problems. So it's only when you talk to them that you find out those problems. So if you make a survey and talk to people and find out their problems, think about the best ideal ways to solve those particular problems. And let's say you don't have kids. If you don't have kids, let's say, sorry to say, if you don't have kids, you might think that people with kids don't really have problems, but maybe they have a lot of problems. Someone might be busy with work and then they also want to make sure that their kid is raised up very well. You could come up with a startup in how maybe an application that can help parents raise up their kids well, an application that has some good explanation of how a child can be raised up well. Okay, something of that sort. Not necessarily that, but something of that sort. So eventually, you find out the various problems people are experiencing, and you eventually come up with something. Maybe you want to come up with something about travel, something about hospitals, everything. It's actually, by the way, it's very important that you talk to people who have been successful in those particular fields. You establish to see how things can best be done. Talk to travelers, talk to doctors if you want to come up with a hospital, and see which areas need to be what fixed. You crowdsource the idea and then eventually come up with a successful startup. Yes, I hope you're enjoying the video so far, and if you're enjoying the video so far, please smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, turn notifications so that you're always notified fast every time I upload a video. And finally, the last tip number 8 is finding variation in an already existing company. So this one simply means it's like copying and paste, but not exactly that. I can say you take advantage of something that has been successful. For example, if ChatGPT has been trending, we know ChatGPT, you can use it to generate responses, solve problems with the very first period of time. You can come up with something maybe that uses ChatGPT, but now with maybe pictures and maybe videos, So this is literally the same thing, but something extra has been what? Added. You get. The idea here is that you come up with something not exactly copying what has been in existence, but at least you come up with something a bit similar. It is similar, but in a different niche. I don't know whether it makes sense. Similar, but in a different niche. So eventually, you can use the advantage of something that's been successful to come up with something new. If let's take an example of Airbnb. Airbnb current is maybe you can use it to get rent on a vacation. I can come up with Airbnb for pets, So literally, I'm using Airbnb, but now this is something different, similar but in different natures. That's the idea. You take advantage of something that has been successful to eventually come up with something. Bottom line, there are no shortcuts to getting a business idea. It's just about two things: curiosity and exposing yourself to challenges and the skill that you want to come up with something. Otherwise, if you stay in a state of comfort, it's very unlikely that you come up with something great. And literally, that is it. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. Don't forget to turn notifications so that you're always notified first. Thank you for watching till the end, and I'll see you in the next video. See you. I have another video on how to develop an entrepreneurial mindset. And if you are interested, then watch this video